Hi, I'm Zandy. You might know me from the brioche knit tips videos that I've been doing recently. I am sitting here with my Great Wave Shawl, which is a brioche pattern that I just published. I tried very hard to cover all aspects of brioche that you guys might not be familiar with, but within about 24 hours of publishing, I got a note telling me that apparently I do a picot bind off a little bit differently than most people do. This is a picture of my shawl next to a normal, as I've been told, normal picot bind off, and you can see that it looks a little different. So I'm just going to show you how to do the picot instructions from the pattern. We're going to be doing the ones in this section, not the whole edge, because it's actually a similar technique. I think it looks a little bit nicer because it's a little bit less spiky and it fits better in the brioche stitch itself. So let's get going. So you can see here on the right side of my work, I've just done row 16 in my light color, and I've worked all the way across. You can see here the pattern that has been started. When I flip over to the wrong side, because that's the side that we're working on, you can see in my dark color, I'm ready to go. And just a note before we really start the picot bind off, you'll notice in the chart of the pattern that it has knits and purls marked. Now, when I'm doing a bind off over a stitch pattern, I like to bind off in the pattern, meaning that every time I'm working a stitch that would be a brioche knit, that would be one of the dark stitches with the wraps, I'm going to knit into it. And every time I work a light stitch that doesn't have a wrap, I'm going to work that as a purled stitch, just so it looks a little bit more consistent. Since it's brioche, I can't slip one yarn over that, so I'm going to work it as a purl because it's kind of like ribbing. So let's get going. The first thing I'm going to do on my picot is to knit on two. To knit on a stitch, I'm simply going to insert the needle, knit a stitch as I normally would, and once I have that stitch, I'm going to take it and put it back onto the left-hand needle. And I'm going to do that one more time. So into the new stitch, knit a stitch into it, pick it up, put it on the left-hand needle. Now I'm going to start the bind off. I'm going to bind off 3. So I'm going to knit one again, and pass one over. 1 bound off. Knit one, pass one over, 2 bound off. This one, you can see, is a single light stitch without a wrap, so I'm actually going to purl this and pass one over and place my yarn back in the back of my work to continue. Now, in the next part of the picot bind off, I'm going to repeat the same pattern. The pattern is knit on 2, bind off 4. Okay? So I'll show you again. Into the next stitch, I'm going to knit on 1, place it on the left-hand needle, through that new stitch, knit on another, place it on the left-hand needle, now bind off 4. Knit 1, pass one over, knit 1, pass one over, knit 1, and that's actually the original stitch that we knit into, pass one over, and now our singular purl stitch that we're going to do, purl 1 and pass one over, and the yarn goes back into the other side of the work. I'm going to continue to do this. I will speed this up and then I'll show you what the end of the pattern looks like. So that was my last repeat of that pattern, and now my next picot is the last one. I'm going to knit on 2, 1, 2 as before, and now I'm only going to bind off 3 before I continue in my pattern. So knit 1, pass one over, knit 1, pass one over, knit 1, into that original stitch that has the wrap, pass one over, and now instead of that stitch that I would usually purl into, I'm actually going to do a slip one yarn over and then brioche knit to re-enter into the pattern. Oh, my marker's stuck on something there. But basically, I'm going to then continue on with the rest of my row. So you can see how that works. So in my finished pattern here, you can see that you have that first one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The last picot gets a little bit lost, but when I continue on in my row, it's a nice smooth transition. So that's how I do my brioche picots. I will be putting up a video in the next few days to show how you can use this in other patterns, because I think it looks really nice on both sides and it's got a really clean finish. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry about the pattern update that came so soon. Please check your Ravelry mail or your email inbox if you downloaded the pattern and you're looking for the update. Bye!